Welcome back to Ask the Lawyer. I'm your host, Brenda Teal, here answering your legal questions about DWIs, criminal law, and personal injury. Today is Chris Johnson with the firm of Johnson & Noriega, attorneys at law. Just call the number that you see on your screen. It's 1-888-449-9971, or email your question to chris@johnsonnoriegalaw.com. But we're about 9 days away from the 4th of July.
Definitely. It's coming up really quick.
Yeah, and not that you would even consider having, one or two beers with your buddies and then getting in the car and driving.
Right.
But you need to know the law. All right, so the phone lines are open. If you do have a question, 888-449-9971. We have a question right now from Ariel. Go ahead.
My car was being towed, and while being towed, my window busted out. Am I liable for it, or is the tow truck company liable for it?
Interesting question. What do you think, Chris?
Well, to be honest, it is an interesting question, just because what you basically have to prove if somebody's liable for something, they have to be negligent. So you have to be able to prove that they did something to cause that they shouldn't have done. Now, if you can prove that, then you probably have a good case. Now, I'll let you know, as a practical matter, it's generally going to be hard to find an attorney willing to take on that case, just because there's not a whole lot of damages there if they were to go on a contingency fee. And then, for a person to pay for it, they're probably only going to have to pay $500 for a window, whereas they might have to pay an attorney a couple of $1,000 in the time that it takes to represent them. So it's probably a good idea to go ahead and file a claim with that tow truck company, with that insurance company, and see if there's anything that they're willing to do. However, just from a practical sense, even if that tow truck company was negligent, it might be really difficult to prove it.
All right, 888-449-9971. We have another caller waiting right now. Go ahead, Patricia in Arlington.
Hello, my name is Patricia. My question is, how long do a DWI last on a person's record as far as them getting a job?
Okay.
Now, that's a really great question, because in the state of Texas, they don't have anything what's called a deferred adjudication that's available for DWI offenses. Now, deferred adjudication and a lot of other charges, your theft charges, certain drug possession charges, is available. Now, what that deferred adjudication does is it keeps a conviction from appearing on a person's record. Now, it'd still be there, but it doesn't go down as a conviction. Now, in the state of Texas, if you're convicted of a DWI, or if you receive probation for a DWI, which is a conviction, that's going to be on your record. It could be on your record until, basically until the end of your life. Now, it's something that, you might be able to get a pardon for, but unless you do something like that, that DWI is going to be on your record for the time, for, indeterminate amount of time.
Yeah, and anytime you go to apply for a job, you have to put that on the application. That,
exactly.
Yes, there has been a conviction.
Yep, exactly.
Wow. 888-449-9971. That's why you get a good lawyer, to make sure that that doesn't happen.
Certainly. Certainly.
Phone lines are open again. The number is 888-449-9971. Dixie in Rowlett has a question. Hi, Dixie.
Hello. I do not drink alcohol. Therefore, every time I go out with my friends, I'm the designated driver. If I were to be pulled over for a traffic citation of some sort, and one of my passengers had an open container such as a beer, would I be held liable?
Good question. What do you think?
That is, and it's a unique set of circumstances, just because, if you're not drinking at all, in theory, you shouldn't be charged with a DWI, but I'll let you know, especially if you're driving more than one person around that has been drinking. Now, there's a very good possibility that, you're up late. It's one of those situations where when the police officer pulls you over, he sees that open container, he smells the alcohol coming from the car, from the other passengers or whatever have you, and he also, he has no reason to believe that you don't drink. Now, an officer might go ahead and decide to go, okay, well, I don't believe that this person has been drinking. However, under, that totality of the circumstances test that we were talking about, he could also go ahead and determine, okay, this person's a candidate that I think that I should go ahead and perform preliminary roadside tests on, maybe give a portable breathalyzer test on, and he could suspect you for DWI.
Is it illegal to have an open container?
It is illegal to have an open container in a car. Generally speaking, it's a non-arrestable offense as long as you're not drinking while you're driving. Now, the issue with that, though, is a lot of times when they see that open container, they're going to assume that, the person in the driver's seat is driving. So. Okay.
All right. So it's something that she might want to take to court if a police officer were to cite her for that.
Certainly. And if you haven't been drinking, in theory, if you haven't had a single drink, you might be more inclined to go ahead and take those preliminary roadside tests. But in practice, they still could arrest you for it. They still could charge you with that DWI. As a general rule of thumb, it's always better to deny the test.
Or just tell your friends, look, No open containers. I'll be the designated driver, but no open containers in the car.
Exactly. That's probably a lot better
That's
idea. No open containers.
That's right. Again, the number to call is 888-449-9971. Up next, Patty in Farmers Branch has a question about definitions. We hope.
About how many beers does it take for me to legally be unable to drive?
But see, that's a tough question because it depends on body weight and everything else.
It does. And okay, now I like to use this example. Now, say DeMarcus Ware, he goes out to a bar, he has 3 or 4 beers in an hour. Now, on a guy that's, DeMarcus Ware's size, 6'5", 260 pounds, he might not feel it at all. Now, you take the same circumstances, you take somebody that's maybe 5 feet tall, 115-pound woman, their whole dynamic changes, and those 3 or 4 beers might have them, hanging on for dear life.
I can smell a glass of wine, and it's too much for me.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So it depends on the individual.
It does. It depends on the individual, and it also depends on the time. So, that same person, the 5 foot tall, 115-pound woman, might have had 4 beers, but say she had the beers over 10 hours. Now, if she has 4 beers over 10 hours, she's probably not intoxicated to drive.
Right.
However, it's something that, in practical sense, it's probably worth it to not drink and drive, even if you've had a drop, just because you don't want to.
Just don't do it.
Exactly.
It's real easy. Just don't do it. The number to call is 888-449-9971. And make sure you know that number, all right?
Exactly.
888-449-9971. We'll be right back for more of your questions for personal injury, DWI, and criminal lawyer Chris Johnson right after this.